So this video is the second part of scraping the contents from the website. And previously we've already obtained a list of the links, and we put that into an array of all the links. And now we're going to deal with each individual page with the link or with this link address. And we're going to obtain the data from this page. So again, we're going to inspect that, and we're going to go inside by inspect that, and we will see that actually these contents are within a component called a table. So within this table there are so this is the table body, and in this table body we're going to have the rows. And then for each row there are different columns or cells. So in each cell there are further components, which is a P. Inside we have the contents. So in this case, the first row contains the column heads, and the rest of that are the values. But one thing to check is that we want to make sure that all of these links, all of these pages follow the same principle and the same structure. So for example, we're gonna check this one. Let's check this. And we will see that no, it sounds like it's it's not exactly the same. So we're gonna inspect that again. And this time, despite that we have the table, we have the table table body, but inside it's slightly different. So last time it was, so the contents are within the P tag, and this time it is within the B tag. So not only about that, the other is that the column head, the description of that is different. So this one is called the total number of cases. This is called the cumulative number of cases. So we're going to take another example. So this will be the last report in the row. So this one is different again. So it is first it has more columns, right? And then if we inspect this part, it seems that this time these the head is in a tag called called the table head, T head and T body. So there is a split between the T head and T body. So we have a lot of deviation here, and also more columns. And again, I assume that these names are going to be different. So briefly, I'm going to list out the observations. The first is that the column names, it can be in the tag called the T head, or it can be in the first row. The second is that the data can be in the P tag or in a V tag. So we're going to try to find a strategy to deal with that. It seems that, well, okay, the third one is that it has different column numbers and names. But anyway, so this one we can deal with that later. So the first is that we're going to obtain the data, and we want to make sure that for each of the table we're going to capture that correctly. We're going to have the column names correctly, and we can obtain the data. So for the time being, what we've noticed that there are three deviations. One is the layout like this, the other is the layout like this, and the other is the layout like this. So we're going to test these three different scenarios. Well, we're going to do the same trick here. The first is that we're going to get the dome. We're going to obtain the dome, the HTML dome, and then we're going to turn that into the D3 object, which is called the dome object again. And this time we're going to skip that the console log of this, because it will be the same. We've viewed that before. So I'm gonna select this within this dome. I'm gonna select the T body. So actually, this is not the table, the completed table, because so the table, the T body is within the tag of T table. But anyway, so anything outside this T body, we're not interested. So we're gonna select that T body. And this time we're going to turn that into a dome again, because I want to view the contents within it. So I'm going to, from this URL, I'm going to have the whole dome and change that into a D3 object, in which I'm going to select the T body tag. And this time we're going to show that as a HTML dome. So the result is like this. The first is that we're going to show this, the whole HTML dome, which is here. It's like like what we've seen before. And the second is this T body, and in this T body we can see that there are a bunch of rows. Basically, there are 17 rows, and for each row there are 4 cells. And for the first cell, for example, it is actually the head, or actually it is this this component, right? So this is the row 1 and column 1. So inside, actually, we've seen that the contents are wrapped in the tag called B, right? But sometimes it is wrapped with a P, you know. So we don't want to go into that detail. So there is a trick, is that we can use the inter text. So basically, the inter text is going to take all the text component, the text contents, and remove those tag information. So we're going to use this, and this will do the trick that regardless it is within a B or within a P tag, we're going to have all the contents within that cell. All right, so we're going to do the same trick as we did for those links. So the first is that we're going to have the link. This is the first link. We're going to have the DOM object, and then we're going to select the table body inside. So for the following steps, sometimes I'm going to select that and turn that into a D3 object, and sometimes I'm going to turn that into a DOM object. So what are the difference here? So why I'm going to choose to do these different things. So the principle is that, so let's just write it here. So also it is the trick. So the first is that if you are going to get a list of to get all the children components, so the first is that if you want to use select all to get all the children components, then you should get the parent as a D3 object, because that way you can use the parent like D3, then select all with the tag name, for example ATR, so that you are going to get all the children components. All right. So that way, if you want to select all the children components, you have to get a parent as a D3 object. So next, if you want to loop for all the children's and do something for each of the children, then you have to get the children, sorry, it's not children's, it's children. So you have to get the children as an array of HTML DOMs. Because that way, because it is an array, so that you can, so that you can use the for each function, because for each method, because only that only applies to an array. So these are the principles. I write it here. Okay, so going into that, the first is that we want to the first is that we want to select the children of an object. So in that case, we're going to turn that into an D3 object, a D3 object. So this is applied to the first principle. So that is why we're going to turn this D, which is the D is this one, which is the HTML DOM. We're going to change that into a D3 object. So with that D3 object, we're going to select the T body tag of that and turn that into an D3 object. So that's what we have here. We have the table as a D3 object. And next we're going to get the rows. And this time, to get the rows, we want to get these rows so that we can loop for each row. So in that case, we're going to get that as the HTML, an array of HTML DOMs. So that applies to the second principle. All right, so that's what we have for this table. We're going to have a collection or an array of all the rows. Yeah, so we get them as the HTML DOM as an array, so that we can apply the method of for each. So for each of the rows, what are we going to do? So we want to have all the tags of TD. So in that case, we want to use the D3 select again, and we're going to apply the first principle. So for each row within this this loop, we're going to change that to the D3 object. So we're going to change that into the D3 object, and this is what we get as a D3 object. And because it is the D3 object, then we can apply the first principle and to find all the cells with the tag name of TD. And this time we're going to find many TDs, and we want to loop for that. So because we want to loop for that, we're going to apply the second principle. We're going to obtain that as an array of HTML DOMs. All right, so that's what we get. So in this case, we're going to have 4 cells, right? 4 TD or cells. Yeah, as we said before, that we obtain that as an array of HTML DOM, so that we can loop for each of the cell. So that's where we're going to have a loop again. And then we're going to have the components of each cell. This time it is each one will be the HTML DOM object. So to this point, that's all. We don't have to do further conversion. So we have down to each of the individual cell. And from this individual cell, we can use the trick of having the inner text of that, so as to obtain the contents of that. All right, so for each cell, and we can see that actually we have the contents inside. So here is the results down to the individual cells. So for each cell, we're going to have the values, and look at the bottom line here, the Vietnam. It has 40, 41, 1, yes. So these are the corresponding values that we have from there. So back to the issues and strategies here. So for this one, regardless of it is within a T or P tag, we're gonna get the inner TEXT, and that one is gonna have all the text contents inside that cell. So we're going to test that for the second type of the table we've observed. And again, it works like this. Vietnam 58, 4, 4, yes, yes. Or the third type of the table, which is this one. And Vietnam again, 30, 63, 0, 5, 56, 58. So that issue is solved. So now let's go back to the first one, is that sometimes the column names are in the first row or in a special tag called the T head. So how to deal with that. So we're going to go back to this inspection, and we're going to right click to inspect it for this table head part. So what we can find is that within this table, which is here, so there is a tag called the T head. So this is for this situation. All right. So and if we use the D3 and before finding the T body, we're going to inject a couple of lines to search for this T head tag. And if it is, and then we're going to count for the dome elements of this corresponding to this tag, and we're going to know the lengths of that. So if it exists, then that array is going to have a length greater than 0. So in this case, we're going to put that in the console log in corresponding to line 77. We have a length of 1, which means that on this page, the T head component was found. So now we're going to inspect this type of table. Again, right-click this table head, and we're going to do the inspection. And actually, we will find that for this table, there is no table head. It directly goes to the table body. So in the in the code, if we change that to link 2, and if we use the same trick, we want to find this one. Let's see what's going to happen. So again, for this line 77, the console log, so the length is 0, which means that the table head was not found. And for this type of table, again, we're going to inspect that, and we will find that, well, it goes directly to the T body without the T head. So we're going to check that link. We'll also try to find this T head component, and the console log, line 77, shows a 0.